What's up, YouTube? So, Killing for Company, my name is Kellen, and it's been a minute, so this may get a little bit rough, but it's been a while. Good to be back. In the background, we are listening to La Macabre, and this is called Mantras for the Manifold, and here we go, number 91 out of 100. Really interesting death metal. That'll be playing in the background. I'm gonna leave that alone because we're gonna do something a little bit different today. In the sense that I'm just gonna be talking about a distro that I discovered through Bandcamp and highlighting that for you. A little bit of the story. So last year, I was just looking for some cool music, whatever, online, and I stumbled upon this distro, which is, I'll pull it up here for you so you can get a look. Cianeto, or Cianeto. My Brazilian pronunciation is a little bit rough, but it translates to cyanide in Portuguese. So Cianeto DISCOS. They are a young label and distributor in Brazil, and they're doing a whole lot of distribution for releases that here in the States we would have no problem getting a hold of, like old school death metal, right? So younger bands that are gaining in popularity and probably fans within Brazil are looking for local distribution. You know, a label like Cianeto is speaking to them, but what I'm interested in is they are also signing young, talented bands from Brazil that have absolutely no distribution here in the States. So discovered them through Bandcamp and have kind of kept an eye on them. The first purchase that I was able to get in physical copy was this here. This is Harpago with Paraíso Perdido, or I believe that translates to Paradise Lost. They are a speed metal band in the vein of Exciter, but there's also, you know, this element of young, how would I say this? Like, speed metal, I think, is suited for a younger musician's constitution. Thrash very much is in the same vein. It just feels like young, hungry musicians who pulled off this record in their first take. There's, in the sense that it's a rough mix, so to speak. Everything comes through clearly, so they aren't, you know, it's not like they didn't try to make the record sound great. It sounds phenomenal as a speed metal aesthetic should sound, in my opinion, which is just, you know, ready to take on the world. Black metal and death metal, doom metal, they settle or age at a much better pace than thrash or speed does. Now, this is very much a speed record. Here it's also got some distribution from ABC Terror. I'll hold up the CD here. ABC Terror is another distributor within Brazil. But it's like politically charged speed metal, so also pulling from that like 80s aesthetic. But I don't think there's anything, necessarily dramatically different about this, other than a lot of the speed metal records that I heard in 2020, they sound like professional. Those sound like studio albums that belong to a band that have moved on to the next stage in their career, which is great. This is a debut full length from a band that's very short-lived, but it's absolutely ready for their next stage and knocked this out of the park. That kind of fire is something that is difficult to replicate, and I think speed metal is a subgenre that when it is captured is a completely unique and inspired sort of metal album. So while this may not be, groundbreaking in terms of like, it's a speed metal record, you should know what to expect. It sets out and accomplishes what it's, meant to. It's the first one I grabbed, but it sort of put Cianeto's records on the map for me, and I returned to it here in 21, just cruising through it and wanted to buy some more stuff, but these albums were not available for physical purchase. Other ones I'm going to show you here. So I went to the actual label's website and tried to purchase them, and for some reason, like, my shipping address here in Lexington didn't show up. So I reached out via email to the label, and a guy named Gil, who runs the label, got back to me and said, "Don't worry about it, just send me $22 and you'll get 3 CDs for the price of 2. That included international shipping, which was great. So I just sent him $22 via PayPal, hoping it would all work out, and within a month, which is actually great in my opinion right now for international shipping, I got my 3 CDs. So thank you, Gil. Thank you for being so accommodating. Everyone at Cianeto's Records, you guys are awesome. So the 3 that I picked up from him, we'll start here with Venomous Breath. I got my cover here, but this is a number 21 out of 300. I won't bother showing you that. And I'll take that off, pull out this, maybe show you the CD. That's probably where the artwork is most vivid. So this is a death metal record, but very much in the vein of Possessed, early, like very early death metal. It's almost like a thrash, like that early thrash record, or early phase of death metal where thrash was still a primary focus and influence. The vocals are at a much higher register. So Possess is sort of the first thing that I think of. It has a Swedish guitar tone to it. I would not call it a Swedish death metal record in the sense that it's not trying to sort of ape that guitar tone. This is not, I wouldn't, in my opinion, a knuckle dragging, whatever. Fucking shoot me, I hate that. But anyway, it's got that Swedish tone, or it's reaching towards it, but it also has an element of like a progressive edge in the way that some of Death's later work, you know, Cianeto from Mexico, and even modern bands like Horrendous, or even to some extent the Question record from last year that I talked about. Some of these songs have like longer solo open passages where there's a little bit more focus towards like the instrumentation, but it still has that Swedish tone. So it's an interesting sort of confluence of very early death metal, a Swedish sort of tinge to it, with a little bit more of these sort of progressive song structures introduced. The whole package, I mean, that album artwork, it is so refreshing to get something with a totally different, I'm gonna hold that up for you one more time, template than you get nowadays with a lot of death metal records. I had no idea this would be an old school death metal release, if you want to call it that. But I was pleasantly surprised, and I really enjoyed that record. They'll fit in, I think, more and more with the modern death metal scene as sort of their popularity grows. Can't wait to see what they do. If I forgot to mention the title, once again, that is Sub Umbra. They use V's instead of U's here, so they get a dock them a point for that. Like, we get it. Sub Umbra Occultorum, Venomous Breath. I think this got distribution on Cianeto, but it was originally released on Resistencia Underground. Little note there. Okay. Okay, next up. This is Death Slaughter with The Last Great War of Humanity. And once again, it's really a black thrash record, but you would never guess that looking at the artwork there. It could use a little bit more, like kind of look like it was a photo that was expanded, but still, once again, thank you for a different artistic template. And this album opens with a cool synth line, and it then gets super aggressive. So it just like went from like, am I listening to a dungeon synth record to, is this a bestial black metal record? And then as things sort of develop over time, you realize it's a black thrash record from Brazil. So Volcano, Sarcophago, but we have 1, 2, 3, I believe there are 5 tracks here that cover about 40 minutes. So with that kind of a track listing, it should be assigned to you that there's a whole lot more going on here in terms of peripheral influences. There's these, moments where the black metal sort of turns into something doomier. There's like a part of very early black thrash to it. So I think the title track here, The Last Great War of Humanity, it opens with a riff that reminds me very much of Venom. In that sense, really unique. I had no idea what I was in store, what was in store for me when I looked at this album cover. But hands down, one of the more entertaining black thrash records that just came out of nowhere. This is from 2019. And just a one-man project. If you like Brazilian, black thrash, but if you listen to like Diabolic Knight's last record, they were taking some like new chances. It wasn't just like a blitz of black thrash. There were some like more interesting sort of instrumental song dynamics going on. So Death Slaughter's in that same vein. It's a little bit more, call it like incendiary, or the flame here that they is a little bit hotter than Diabolic, and it's got like that Brazilian attitude, right? But nonetheless, a fun listen. So. Last one up here is Exterminio, and this one is entitled, forgive me here, Alcatel macabre, and Exterminio plays a brand of, I guess, raw death metal, if you will, like the production qualities that you will commonly associate with black metal, but within a death metal context. So Shub Niggurath and even early or like Stillbirth Machine, Order from Chaos is what comes to mind immediately when I listen to this record. If there's, we have another 7 songs, 40 minutes. So I don't mean to belabor the point, but I think the greater narrative that I kind of want to get across to you about this label is these bands, people are not talking about them here because in America, because they aren't getting the distribution and recognition that they deserve. If this is happening on Rotted Life or Sewer Rot or other like labels, Transylvania Tapes, etc., that are all the rage, people would know about them and would appreciate them. And Cianeto Records is doing that in Brazil, and I hope more Americans look to international labels that are young to sort of find some interesting bands, because I do think geography plays a major role in terms of articulating new aspects within a subgenre like death metal or black thrash, etc. This doesn't sound like anything happening on those records. That kind of black death metal that is still firmly rooted in death metal, but has greater sort of ambitions with atmosphere, and something that I don't hear a lot with this kind of like, excuse me, raw and aggressive, unpolished, just grating. If you've listened to Stillbirth Machine, it sounds rough, and that's the whole point of it. Even, an Ending in Fire, when Order and Chaos came later in their career, it was still a unique sound, and this band is in that vein. We need more bands that sound like that, in my opinion. Maybe another Autopsy band out there is what you crave, but I could get some more Order from Chaos in my life, personally. That's not me complaining about great bands that are worthy of consideration, but please, I got all of these, for a very considerable price, including international shipping. Thank you so much, Gil. Thank you, Cianeto Records. It's been a while, so this may be a little bit rough, but thank you for watching. I've got some projects that I cannot wait to get to. But there's like a few key items that are really important because they're based on sort of a historical or chronological nature. So it's important to have like the early records that I want to talk about. Because they're obscure, I have not got them. They're coming on international shipping. It's been 2 months. Please get here. Thank you so much for watching. And it's good to be back. I'll see you guys next time. Later.